All right, I have Terrell and Akila. Terrell.
It's not like an interview.
Right.
No, Terrell, to ask.
Right, you already making me forget what we're talking about.
Hey, no, wait. So tell us what you're asking them about and what your thing is when you're gonna get back.
The rules and procedures of rules of engagement. I guess in engaging in an armed suspect, because trying to figure out why.
So it's just all it is opportunity, ability, and jeopardy.
Yeah. But what?
So
wait, time out. Terrell, what is with what incident are you like relating this to?
We're hearing this is the Jamil Roberson case, the security guard from Illinois who was shot and killed after detaining a suspect who came in and opened up fire in a bar. And so I'm trying to figure out what the rules are engagements. And
I don't know the whole story. I don't know the whole the rest of the case. Okay. One thing that I do know that I think that a lot of times in law enforcement we react very quickly, right? So so you base it on opportunity, ability, and jeopardy. So the idea that somebody has the ability to harm someone, right? So in this case, from what I've read, a gun in the back of the suspects, holding them there, so he has the ability to hurt somebody, and then jeopardy, meaning that it looks as if that he's going to commit the crime and has the ability and opportunity. So the gun, the proximity, and what it is. The problem is that you need what information were the officers given before going, right? So if all they're given is it's an active shooter, right. and so here's the two things. There's a guy that's shooting. This is why I don't know about the case. Was the suspect that was shooting, was he African American also? Was he black too, right? Because if he's, I don't know. So if the suspect that was shooting, hey, there's a black guy in the bar shooting people. Now as a police officer, you show up through the door. There's a black guy holding a gun at somebody. Oh, there he is.
From my understanding, I believe they were outside the bar, right? Where he had them.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But even if it was, right? So even if it was, there's a guy at a bar shooting, black dude at a bar shooting, and
what are the active procedures, I guess, for now you guys is when you get a.
So that's the hardest thing. So here in Idaho, that's one of the things. Everybody has guns, right?
Right.
In Idaho, everybody carries guns. So if there's an active shooter in, let's say, Walmart. If there's an actual shooter in Walmart, I guarantee you there's going to be somebody there that shoots back.
Right.
There's going to be somebody that shoots back. So when I get there, and let's just use white people because most people here are white, right? 100%. So if I get there and they're there's a white active shooter, and I show up and there's two people pointing guns at each other, which one is the bad guy?
Right.
So so drop the gun. Well, hopefully the good guy that started shooting knows, okay, I got to drop the gun, and then the bad guy may or may not, or they both, and it's fine. So, but I guess it comes to that situation, in my opinion. I don't know this whole story, so in my opinion, I think the idea is that if it's based on the training, right? So I've been in situations to where when you show up, you have to be able to verbally announce whatever. Sometimes in a situation like that, you get in a position to where you feel like somebody's life's in danger, so you just you just take action right away, right? So that would be what I would want to, I haven't really been up in arms about it yet until I hear the whole story. If the suspect, because it's going to be really tough if they say the suspect's black,
right? The
initial suspect's black,
and the security
guard's black. So how do you know that this isn't the dude that was doing the shooting? Right? Now, body cameras, videos. If you got citizens saying that's not him, that's a good guy, and then you're not listening, because one thing that happens in law enforcement and in high stress situations, it's called audio exclusion, tunnel vision. So you get into a situation to where if you don't, you just eliminate all of that stuff. So you get in a situation where you just focus and all you see is there's my possible suspect with the gun pointed at somebody else, and then I just shot.
Yeah.
So I think that's what makes it tough. Now, if the suspect was white and they got that information, and then there's a black dude holding a gun on this white dude, I mean, you got to ask a couple of questions. You got to keep that in your mind. Why is this white dude holding this gun? I thought they said the suspect was white, but at the same time, half the time that we get calls, people will say, there's a guy beating on his wife, and he's wearing a green shirt and blue jeans, and we get there, and he's wearing a black shirt and red pants.
Right,
You know what I mean? Like it just because people see
not
stuff,
always
when
accurate.
It's not accurate. So I think a lot of it will be based on the idea of what did they know going into it. Now, if they just went in, if they show up and they didn't know who it was, who the suspect was, or what's going on, or if they go in and they said the security guard has him and he's got a gun to him, he's holding them. If they knew that going in, then they have some explaining to do.
So I think, what I hear and people ask, and I guess people I've talked to in like you could say the black community, right? It's like, well, okay, this guy had a gun, and they came in guns blazing, black man's dead, right? They always think, okay, well, the white men always ask you, well, why don't you put up your hands? They don't want to shoot you, or hey, don't run. If you didn't run, they wouldn't do that, right? But then we keep getting these incidents where it's like, the black man always ends up dead, right? And it's like, well, then you get the other instance where you get these mass shooters go in and blow up and kill all these people.
So like I think those are always an unfair comparison. Like I agree that it's easy to say that, well, why wasn't this guy dead and this one wasn't? Most of the time in those situations, like, so the Boston Marathon guys, right? That was a shootout between him and the Sexton. They found him in the boat. He was shot. Blah blah. They pulled him out. Like, he was shot. He just survived, right? The other one, like, you take like the synagogue thing, like the actual finding of the suspect. I mean, they find him in a house. They find him in a hotel. Come out. He comes out. You can't just they didn't just shoot him. They say come out. Like, the ones that we have the problem.
Right, but see the one that we I have an opportunity to, hey, come out. It's not like
they found him. They found him and he probably gave up.
Yeah.
They found him, probably gave up. The other ones, I think that the ones that they get compared to is stuff that's like a evolving thing. So like a traffic stop, right? You take a traffic stop, it's evolving.
Yeah.
You take this thing in a club, it's evolving. You take, fights or whatever, stuff that shows up. Like the one one that I really have a hard time with is the one in Tulsa where the lady shot that guy. I mean, I guess he was high on PCP, but they shot him when she said he put his hand in the window, but he didn't.
Yeah.
See, like, it was evolving. I get what she thought she saw.
Yeah.
Or whatever, but that one doesn't compare to. I guess that one doesn't.
Was this a police officer? She killed this guy because she felt.
She thought the dude put his hand in the car and stuff, and so it turned out the window was rolled up. So you know what I mean? It just
She shot through the window.
No, she was on a traffic stop. He had parked in the middle of the street or something. Anyway, I just think the difference between them, like, you can't compare those because those. Also, the people that are involved in those situations, you're talking about street cops that are just in a situation and they get after it. You got to think, once that synagogue was shot up, who do you think's there? FBI, everything, so whatever. So it's like a total operation of people and time and all the resources are put versus just two patrolmen show up on a call. Like, it's a totally different example. So I think that those things, like, they just had the one. So here's one. They had one in, I think it's Santa Fe, Texas. I just learned about this in a training I was in, and a kid shot up a school, took some hostages in a classroom. They showed up. He actually shot an officer. He shot an officer, and then somehow they ended up talking him out. He came out. So he just came out. So you could say, well, why didn't they go in guns blazing? Well, they ain't go in guns blazing because if they go in guns blazing, you got hostages, and so he comes out. I mean, this dude had killed kids. I think he killed 8 victims and stuff. But it still turned out. So I think those kind of comparisons are tough. You can't compare. You need to compare those incidences with other like incidences. Like, you can't say Philando Castillo, which is another one that I'm like, that dude shouldn't have done what he did. Is compared to the dude from
who was that?
Philando Castillo was the one at the traffic stop.
Was that the one when she was on Facebook?
Yeah, when you told me
I have a gun,
yeah. See that one, you watch that one. There's something they always talk about is like command presence, right?
Yeah.
And this is what's really hard about getting recorded on this, because it's hard to, like, Monday, what they call it, Monday morning quarterback people. but like command presence. And you, if as me watching that video, and even my coworkers, you watch that video, and that dude is excited already.
Yeah.
The
cop? No, the cop.
Yeah, he's already hyped and nervous. He's already elevated what it should have been, right? Like somebody's like, "Hey, I got a gun. All right, look. I mean, there's a joke that I've heard like in training, and I was kind of, me when in training, I'm nervous too. Like people got guns here, and you don't realize what's going on, and it was like. And one of the funniest things one of my FTOs, one of my trainers said was, somebody says, "Yeah, I got a gun in my center console or whatever." And he's like, "Well, you don't grab yours, I won't grab mine."
Okay.
Right? Yeah. And I'm like, wait, this is weird. Like he's got a gun, or if it's somebody that may be a little bit hinky, sorry, well, look, just keep your hands on your steering wheel, blah blah. Yeah. So in that situation, once he said, "Hey, I got a gun right here," I don't know what he saw in the car. Like I can't say everything, but just from my perspective. And once he says, "Hey, I got a gun on my hip," or whatever, it's like, okay, you do. What I need you to do is that you should put your hands on the dash and don't move them. If you move them, I'm gonna perceive that as a threat. Right. You take control of it. Like I know you gotta go, and that happens. Black, white, Mexican, don't matter. Like you say you got a gun on you, and grandma, mom, I got a gun. Okay, you have a gun. I mean, college kids around here all the time. They got guns. They going hunting. Right? It's like, hey, I got a gun in the car. Okay, well, just leave your hands on the steering wheel. Just don't move them. And most people that are like law-abiding citizens holding guns are like, okay, that's fine. Like I understand. I don't want to make you uncomfortable, right? So anyway, so. Long story short, I think the idea of comparing, like how do these mass shooters that do all these bad things stay alive? Yeah. So here's a lot of it too that we don't know, and I'm going to assume happens. I don't know this for a fact, but they have a plan, right? So they're gonna go shoot up the school, they're gonna shoot up this church. Yeah. They leave.
Where's Naya's mom?
So you have to look at like the debrief videos and the reports, right? Okay. But they leave, they go and they try their getaway, right? They're gonna be in an airplane, they're gonna drive whatever, they're gonna do whatever. And I don't know all of them, but I guarantee you some of them are just like, they got me.
Right.
I'm caught, so they just give up.
Yeah.
And I think that is what, if they know that the world is after them and then they just give up, I think what happens is you get in situations where you're dealing with people that are just like an actively involving situation. A guy gets the one in Northern California. That one's kind of bothering me for a while, and they show the guy when he's hopping the fences and then he ends up.
Is that the one that runs him over?
No, he's up at his grandma's house in the backyard of his grandma's house.
Yeah.
Supposedly pulled out a phone or something, and they shot him. I think those kind of things are more evolving, so it's harder to see. And I think that those are the ones that you just question, like, are you training and are you thinking? That is what it is. Are you training and are you thinking when crap hits the fan? Like, are you really going back or resorting to your training, or if you're really like doing what you're supposed to do, or if you're actually being taught that stuff, One thing that I think is an unfair comparison, like there's not a lot of shootings here, right? I mean, there's 2-3 a year or whatever, right? Yeah, there's 2-3 a year. So these guys may be in legitimate shootings often, right? They could be, in legitimate shootings, and so like they treat all of them like that.
Yeah. Challenging. I forgot where I was going every time.
He can't challenge me, bro, because I'm too good. Well, I think the reason why it's harder for somebody to challenge somebody like me, and it's not just me out there. Like there's a lot of people that feel this way, But I think that is because I understand that there is some crappy situations that happen that shouldn't happen.
What is this? So
I'll give you a perfect example. Tamir Rice. I don't care.
The security guard, then, right?
Okay.
So he's obviously trained to detain a threat, which he did. Hold them down until.
I don't know. Like, I mean, it's in Chicago, wasn't it?
Right.
So Chicago's got really tight gun laws, right?
Right, very tight gun laws.
So I highly doubt a security guard would probably have a gun normally at a bar.
He was going up to the academy. Concealed
carry holder.
I believe so.
Like I said, I haven't read that full one.
Right. But I mean, nonetheless. So
I actually didn't want to read it just because I didn't want to be mad.
Right. After I heard the story discussed, I didn't really want to look into it. But the fact, like, what is he to think then? Like, if he feels he did his job, he shot back at a guy, he detained someone who was firing at.
So I think that that goes into the idea of what do the people know? Like, there's a lot of people's jobs, and it stinks to say this, and it's a lot of people's jobs to play a part in that whole situation. The person that calls 911 and you're frantic, right? I mean, I'm trying to survive. There's somebody shooting, and I hang up. I don't, you know what I mean?
It's chaos.
But at some point, like if somebody was to say, hey, the bad guy is on the ground,
right? He's
on the ground, blah blah blah. He's detained. There's no more shooting. Then it's the officer's job to go in or get there and then assess the situation. Now, again, I want to see the body. I'm hoping there's body cameras. I'm hoping there's surveillance footage. I want to see if it was a Tamir Rice situation where they just pulled up and fired. Right. If they pulled up and was like, if they pulled up and was like, okay, drop the gun, drop the gun, and then he didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
But if they just pull up and then they start shooting, like, drop the gun to do it, you know, and then give them an opportunity or whatever. Now, one of the things that's really hard is like, you always talk about like action versus reaction, right? You know, if somebody takes action, somebody pointed at you, you know, you have to react. So a lot of times, you know, they try to help us increase our reaction time so that we can be quicker on the draw and on target and to stop the threat or whatever. And so I can understand them being like overly anxious, and I would assume that once they got the call of the active shooter in a place, as soon as they got the car, their guns were out and they're headed to the place.
Right.
The information is what I would like to know what they had. What did they know before going?
Right, it was a 911 call.
Yeah, was it just, and then I want to know if the suspects were both black.
Okay.
You know, because if the suspects were both...
We haven't got all that.
Yeah, if the suspects were both black, or if the suspect and the guy and the security guard are black, gosh, that's just a crappy situation. It's a crappy situation because you showed up.
I mean, unfortunately, like, the odds of it being Chicago could be...
I don't know, but it could...
Depending where you are, but it's Chicago.
Yeah, it could have been a country bar. Or,
right.
I don't know. You know what I mean? It just could have been. It could have been whatever. But that's what makes it tough. I think. That's what makes it tough. But I mean, I you know, if it was just an idea where they just showed up and shot and they didn't need to, or he said, "Oh no, I'm the," you know, or if he was like doing this and he got.
So we're just like, oh, he's wiping them down, and then there are people yell, "No, he's a good guy," and then
I think that would play a big part in it. Just to decide whether or not it was, I don't want to say justified, because I mean, I would say you can't justify somebody that was trying to help dying, but if it was, I guess the best word you can say is reasonable. If it was reasonable, I understand. Like if it was, oh dang, I understand why that happened. Yeah. You know, that's where the issue comes in. Like I can see why.
So I was gonna say like premeditated. I'm like, that's not a good word either.
Yeah, no, not for you. But if it was reasonable, like if they made a reasonable decision based on the information that they had, and that's the part that sucks, because if they had a tad bit more information, the security guard has him, or the suspect is white, not black, or whatever. Or the suspect, even if the suspect's wearing a gray shirt and he's wearing a blue shirt, or just something a little bit more, and then it's our job to retain that information and know that information when you enter a situation. So. With Tamir Rice, I got to altercations and stuff like on Facebook and like police forums, because they're like, they did it right because there's no orange tip. There's no. Now he's breaking lyrics. There's no like orange tip. It's a real gun. It's probably in a place where there's a little more gun violence, blah blah blah. They show up and you watch that video. He shows up and he just shoots the kid.
Yeah.
He just shoots him, right?
Right, on the playground.
Now, law enforcement people...
Was a million other kids around?
Law enforcement people might not be a fan of my point of view, but my point of view comes from like a real life scenario. So we got a call that by the college, there's a dude with a AR, a rifle, running through campus. Looks like he's pointing at people. Yeah. I'm like a block away, so I show up, my gun's out. I come around the corner, I see the camouflage dude with what I look like a rifle, and I'm chasing after him, and I see this girl underneath the stairs on her knees with her hands behind her head, And I see it, and I said, drop the gun, drop the effing gun, you know? Drop the gun, and he turns around, and it was a kid. He's like 12, and he turns around, and he drops the gun. He probably about to he himself, but I was about to shoot him, you know?
What do you have?
And so then it's over. I mean, and you pick up that gun. It was an airsoft gun, but the orange tip was off. You pick it up. It's heavy. Like it looks
like
real. It was more realistic.
Kids want. They want a realistic gun.
thing, and they take the thing off. And so, and I almost shot him.
I remember taking a point off some gun when I was a kid. Right?
And so I almost shot him. And so for me to argue and say, like, I think that the Tamir Rice thing happened too quickly is based on experience. Because
real life.
as I'm telling this kid to drop the gun, I'm applying pressure to the trigger. I aimed at the kid. I didn't know he was a kid at the time.
Right.
But I aimed at the guy because everything is bigger, right?
Right.
That 12-year-old that was probably this tall was 6 foot.
When
he was
with the gun.
He was 6 foot, and that girl that was his old. I think it was like his older sister or something. Was a little girl because she's a victim, so she's small. And, in your brain, like in my brain, that's what it's playing. And so it's like I'm holding on to the trigger and I'm telling the kid to drop it, and he does. And the look on his face when he turned around, because I'm yelling my big boy voice, right? And he turns around and he drops it, and you see the shock in his face. It was like, it's over. Now, that is why I think the Tamir Rice thing is bullshit. That one to me, I think I just think that that's not right, because I think if they would have given him an opportunity, here's the issue. It's a lose-lose. If they would have stopped him and they would have given him an opportunity to drop the gun, and he turned and pointed it at them and then they shot them, I don't know, we still would say, well, he was a kid, he's just playing ball, blah, right? But the idea, they just didn't even give him the opportunity.
They just
They didn't even give him an opportunity to do it. There's one that's going on viral right now where the guy shows up and he's like lectures the kid about not having an orange tip and saying that he needs to not carry it, and if I told your mom, she'd be mad and blah blah, and the mom was mad, black kid, white cop, and I mean it was handled properly. But in this situation right here, I think it was the same thing. I mean, in a position of cover, never lose your officer safety, blah blah blah, do everything you're taught to do as if it's a true threat, right? But then just give him a chance. I just don't think that they did that,
I think he was worried more about going home that night than doing his job, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that's
and now they go hand in hand, and you obviously can relate to that more.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big fear. I mean, it's a fear, but at the same time, it was like, I don't know. I think it's just that spoiled. I'm spoiled. One other thing too is I'm spoiled, man. My equipment in my car is nice. My city is smaller. We train all the time. We have lots of practice. I mean, and so you get, there's places like Ohio, Chicago, LA. There's huge departments, so they don't have the same funding. They don't have the same amount of time to train. I mean, and you got
would
people.
Would you say they get more real life experience?
Yeah, but then if their real life experience is shooting people all the time, then it turns into, you know what I mean? If their real life experience is driving, and what is it, Chicago, right? They can't even, when they drive down certain streets, they turn their lights off because their cars just get shot at.
No way.
Yeah, they just get shot at, right? And so if that is what you are experiencing, and then when you actually got to get out and handle some business, like, are you quick to shoot, And so, like, for me, like, I mean, my experience is maybe they might flip me off, or, I might get called Uncle Tom, or or just some our pig, or go eat donuts, whatever. But but my
and he does love donuts.
I don't eat them in uniform.
Eating too many donuts.
I don't eat them in uniform though.
Too poetic.
but those kind of things, and you get those kind of experiences, I think that is what it all plays a part in it. And I think that, I mean, to kind of wrap this thing up, I think the idea is that everybody plays a part in it, and I think that in law enforcement we need to meet. If we can't meet halfway, we got to meet
somewhere.
We got to meet. Well, no, if we can't meet halfway, we got to push a little bit more, and work with our communities to make it better. Because right now, if you're not in law enforcement, like 9 years ago, I'd have been pissed. right?
Yeah,
9 years
yeah.
ago, I wouldn't have said, well, I want to see the rest of the stuff.
Right.
I would have just been real quick to be like,
Judge.
man,
Yeah.
them damn cops,
Right.
FTP, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I would have been right in there with that, you know. And I think now, as I was like, I got a little bit of experience, I got a little bit more of understanding. I was like, I want to hear it, and I'm not saying I need to hear the whole story. Like, I
Right.
don't need to hear. I mean, I'm not saying that I need it because I want to defend the police officers. I want to hear the whole story. I want to hear the whole story from both sides. What's the witnesses? What are the witnesses saying that the
Right.
cop did,
Right.
and what is the cop saying in his report? And I want to hear it.
Get all the
and then I'll make my own assumptions. Like
Logical
the Tamir
decision,
Rice one
yeah.
for me, I watch that one every
That's
time,
easy.
and I'm just like, that is just not what we would do. I think I could tell you that. I think that I could say I could put. I think that's like 100 sworn of us, right? I can put 90%
Yeah.
of the dudes
In
that
that
I
situation.
work with in that situation, and they wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know part of it's a culture thing because guns, like there's kids that walk from their houses to their car with a 22 rifle because they're about to go hunt with their dad or shoot with their dad or whatever. But I mean, I guess they wouldn't hunt with a 22, but you know what I mean. But they would go do stuff, and it's not abnormal. And so, anyway, I think that to me, I just think that it definitely is a two-way street where the community and law enforcement has to get together. And I think that law enforcement sometimes has to bow down and try to earn the respect of people. And I think that is what community policing is about. I'm just trying to figure it out. So.
Right.